Hey everybody, Scoutcraft here again, midweek Wednesday. Hope everybody's doing well. I got a couple things to get to today, but before I started, last week we talked about the drones that are all over the place, and wouldn't you know it, that my Ring camera said drones detected in your area. And don't you know, went outside, looked up, and there was one right over my house. Can you imagine? This guy was right over my house, and I know what you're thinking. Some of you are going to say, that looks like it's a drone, all right, because I live right by LaGuardia Airport, and the planes come in a totally different way. So that was a drone flying over. Very interesting. Don't know what it was there for, but I thought you'd find that cool. And like I said, we got a few things to get to, so let's get started right away. For today's project, first thing I want to start off with, good buddy Brian Burke. We all know Brian. Brian says, listen, it's freaking me out, man. You got to do something with that kilowatt every time he sees it faded. You see how it's all faded? You could just barely make it out, right? So a couple of you had mentioned, they said, you know, there's probably a way you could fix it on there, and you should attempt to fix it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this apart and see if we can't fix it. Okay, we just loosened up the 3 Phillips head screws in there. We're just going to see how this opens up now. And I can see there's a ribbon going to one side, so let's turn it over this way. And okay, there we go. There go the 3 screws. Make sure they're the same size, and they are. You have to be careful. Sometimes they have different screws. Okay, so what we're concerned with is where the display. Now, since the display is on this side, we have to pull this board off, okay? Because this side seems fine. It's just the other. Have you ever wondered what's inside one of these? So we got to take this off of here. So let's figure that out. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws holding that down onto the face. Let's unscrew them. Okay, it's always nice when all the screws are the same size, right? It just makes it that much easier, but you always have to be careful of that. Now I'm going to lift this up gently to see what's under here, because from what I understand, okay, here we go. All right, you see there's no connection here. And here, these buttons here are just touch buttons that connect with these, you see? So when I push that button, this little contact makes and shorts out that and makes, but apparently the only thing that's making the contact with the screen here, let me see if I could turn that around. Look at that. Temperature, F, what's all that about? So apparently it's these things here that make contact that give a number. So if I clean that and use a contact cleaner, I might be able to get this to work. So let's see. Okay, let's take this off here. This is the rubber here. Those are the buttons with the contacts. Okay, those seem to be working fine. That goes right in there. And here's the screen. Let's lift this up gently. See what's on the other side of the screen. Careful not to... Okay, here's the screen. All right, that's all the... See, there's no contact between the screen and here, so it must be maybe something here that's has to be cleaned off or something, but that's the screen, and that seems fine. So we'll just clean these contacts and see if that's not the problem. Okay, for the rubber, I'm going to saturate this with some isopropyl alcohol. Okay, and I'm just going to wipe this here with a contact. So I'm going to wipe the back here and see if there's any dirt that maybe is stopping that from... Isopropyl alcohol is usually, and you always look at it, if you see it picking up anything on there, like if it's dissolving it, then you stop right away. But it seems like maybe, who knows, maybe it's a little dirt, dust, whatever there is. So we're going to clean this with the isopropyl alcohol. It dries very quickly. And then once this is clean, we're going to clean the contacts. And to clean the contacts, we're going to use some contact cleaner, and we're going to use a pipe cleaner because, you know, sometimes the cotton will come off or whatever. So we're going to take a pipe cleaner and clean those contacts. I'm using some CRC contact cleaner. I'm going to spray a little bit on my fingers. I sprayed a little bit on here, and now we're going to rub these contacts, okay? And see if we can't clean these off. Again, the pipe cleaner does a really good job because it doesn't get cotton or whatever from falling apart. But we're going to clean these off good, and then we'll reassemble it and see if that makes a difference. Wouldn't that be great if it's only that easy? Okay, let's try and reassemble it. Okay, we reassembled it now, and now let's plug it in and see if it works. Okay, oh, look at that. Yeah, we're back. We are back. Look at that display, okay? Much, much better. Brian Burke. We all got to thank Brian Burke, because I probably would have just left this upstairs as a secondary, but you could see here we have it back in action. The display is back looking like new. Outstanding. Just a clean, that's all it needed. Also a special thanks to Max. He's the one that gave me the hint on how to do this. Many times we're hesitant to try and dig in, break into something, and because of the consequences, you know, that could have broke that that meter very easily going in there, right? But sometimes it's easy when it's already not working. You say, what's the worst I can lose? Well, I want to tell you a story. Couple weeks ago, I undertook a plumbing issue in my house, and I hate plumbing. You know, plumbing is one of those things. Now, my house was a 100-and-something-year-old house. It was built early with galvanized pipe. Galvanized pipe was the thing back then, and at probably 30 or 40 years after that, the galvanized pipe was starting to have problems, as they did. So my grandfather changed all the piping in here. He had a friend that was a plumber, and they changed it all to brass. Brass was the king back then, you know, and copper was just coming into play, but brass was big. So they changed everything into brass pipe. And knock on wood, never had a problem. You know, it works good. But there was one fitting over there. I don't know. Might have been me. Maybe I messed with it years ago. I don't know. But there was a fitting that was leaking. And it was leaking. It was like a drip every week. You get 1 or 2 drips I would see on the floor. And then it got to the point it was 2 or 3 drips, and then 4 drips. Then it was 2 or 3 drips a day. And so I said, you know, I gotta take care of this. Not that I was worried that it would break. Now I gotta change it, you know. And I hate plumbing. I'll do anything to avoid it. So I learned all I could about PEX. And let me show you what I did over here. Okay, now, obviously this is old pipe. What I did was there was a compression fitting over here, okay, next to this valve, which these valves are horrible. You know, they seize up after a while. But anyway, I cut it from there and I put in PEX, okay? And this is PEX B. And I said, let me try. I got to tell you something. This PEX is beautiful to work with. Let's talk a little bit about PEX. Now, the reason I didn't want to have a plumber come, because if anybody here knows about New York City and plumbing, you can't get a plumber to come to your house and do anything without, it's going to cost you $1,300. That's the magic number. $1,300. I don't care what it is. However, so I said, I'm going to give it a shot. What do I got to lose, right? Now, this was the pipe that was in my house for many, many years. This was brass. Look at the thickness, thick wall brass, you know. And look, nothing was in the tube. It was beautiful. Problem is, like I said, you know, it was where the coupling, it was one of them compression fittings where the coupling was, and there was no other way to thread in new pipe without using a compression coupling, which I'm not crazy about. Anyway, I said, since I'm down the basement here, let me try the PEX. It's not it's not in the wall. It's outside. I can always change it over if it don't work. It's a, you know, no-brainer. Give it a shot. PEX comes in, and I'm just going through a brief thing. PEX comes in 2 varieties, a type A and a type B. The difference being, type A, what you do is it's expandable. You have a special tool that goes into the tip here, and it expands the tip to about 30% to fit over your coupling or your bushing or your elbow, whatever it is, to one of your accessories. It fits over, and then it will shrink. It will come back to its own size after a couple minutes. That's type A. Type B is this type here, which you get mostly at Home Depot, and you'll see on the PEX tubing, it'll say type B on the tubing. You have to read the label, but this is what you usually find at home centers and Home Depot, things like that. The difference is this one here uses clips, either compression copper clips or the stainless steel type that I bought. And I'm going to show you that in a minute and how easy it is to do. And the pros for this is, for a guy like me, it's very easy to do. You don't need expensive tools, things like that. The cons for something like this, the cons for type B is because this doesn't expand, every time you put a fitting in here, whether it be a coupling or an elbow or whatever, it gives you a little reduction in flow. So the only way to get around that is to just go up a size, and that's what I did. See, normally people, they buy the 1/2 inch or whatever. I went up to the 3/4 inch, so now I didn't have to worry about flow restriction. And that's it. And let me show you how easy it is to work with this. The first thing you're going to need is something that you could cut your pipe with. I bought this Husky set here. It comes with 2 types of cutters, but this will give you a nice straight cut. This is ratcheting. Give you a nice straight cut on your pipe. I'll show you how that works. And then you just need a tool to clamp it. Now, you can clamp copper rings around it, or you can go with these stainless steel clamps that I got, and I'll tell you why I got the ones I did. Now, to cut PEX, it's as simple as placing it here, ratcheting your ratchet and you want to get a pretty square cut, okay? So you want to hold it against the back here, and when it starts to ratchet, just bring it in like this, and you'll see it cuts right through. You get a nice square cut on the end. Look at that beautiful cut. Very simple. So, and these tools are very inexpensive because they're mostly like homeowner grade. But look at that nice cut that you get on there, right? Look at that. So now, what you want to do is you're going to need a tool to cinch the fitting, whatever you're going to use. I'll show you how that works. So this is the crimping tool that I bought, and these are the crimps. Now, this is for 1/2 inch pipe. I bought the larger crimps here for 3/4 inch. You can see here. Okay, so they're larger, but the same crimping tool works for both. And this one even came with a cutter. And like I said, it's inexpensive. So let me show you how easy it is to form any kind of plumbing system that you want. Now, you could buy these fittings in plastic, and also I prefer the brass, but you can buy them in any way. And you can see how these go in is they press right onto here like that. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now, the first thing you do is you're going to put a clamp on first. And you're going to put it on like this. You're going to press this in here like that. And then you're going to move this up here. And you want this to have about 1/8 of an inch showing of PEX tubing. And then you're just going to take the crimping tool like this. And you're going to crimp. It fits right over here. And I'll show you what that looks like. See, that little crimp fits right in there. And when you squeeze this together, it slides this stainless clamp over it, and that's on there. And I'm going to clamp this on. Now, if you wanted to join 2 pieces, you could see how easy that would be. Or if you want to put a T in there, you clamp here, clamp there, clamp the other way, and you're good. Now, the colors of PEX mean nothing. They come in red, blue, white. Usually people use red for hot, blue or for cold or something, but that's just so you can distinguish it. But they're exactly the same properties. They have no difference. Let me tighten this here on here, and I'll show you how nice of a job it does when it's clamped. Now, the beauty of this system, it's a clamping system. You see the gear down there? So when you squeeze it together, it will not release until you clamp it all the way. It's got to be all the way clamped before this will release. That is what it looks like clamped. Now, you see why I preferred this, because with the one that has the rings around it, you have to get the whole tool around the ring, and I was pretty tight up there. Some of it was almost against the wood, so you can get this, when using this style, you can get right against it. Now, I've watched every video on PEX that YouTube has. There's over 300 videos. I've watched them all, and they've done tests, and there's no difference as far as the stainless steel or the copper. They seem to hold the same, and between A and B, very similar. In fact, the B actually held up better in some of the tests. So it all depends on what you're doing. The A, you're going to save money if you're a contractor, because you can use the cheaper clamp. These are a little bit on the expensive side, but for a homeowner, it don't really mean much unless you're doing a whole house. And that's it. Now, this will not move. It's solid. I mean, it's beautiful. And you can see how quickly that is. And you could do you could run a whole basement full of piping with this stuff, cheap, inexpensive, and quickly. And if ever you make a mistake, you can cut this clamp off. Now, you see where that red dot is? By changing that from 1 to 2, you can make this the same crimper into a cutter to remove that little clip on there. But I just use a screwdriver and pry it out because I have access to it. Now, if you look very closely, you can see the indentations that the ridges on the T made on that. And that's just with that stainless clamp. It's really great. I mean, everybody that uses PEX really likes it. It's for especially for homeowners. But however, would I trust it inside of walls? Would I trust it for 25, 35 years? It's guaranteed for 20 years or so, or 25 years. But what are you going to do? You're going to go back and say, look, my house was destroyed. I want my money back. They'll give you a new piece of PEX. So you could see how much money you could save by doing a small, either a repair or installation if you want to do it by yourself, and it's very easy to work with, and it's if you just watch all the videos on YouTube, it's pretty much idiot proof. But tell me what you think. Do you trust PEX? Have you used it? I know a lot of you plumbers out there like it, but as a homeowner, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. I was at a party last week and I met a gentleman by the name of Jathan. Not Nathan, not Jason, Jathan. And if you're anything like me, I can't remember names for the life of me. So I like to use it in conversation a couple times so that it sinks into my head. So I said, how are you, Jathan? Nice to meet you, Jathan. That's an unusual name, Jathan. And he said, wow, are you serious right now?